Hey guys, yay, come on in, another Sunday. Hey Jesse, Emma, Steph, Jeff, Corinne, hello, come on in. Got some exciting things we're going to cover tonight. Because it went over so well and there was someone else who wanted to share, well, I wanted them to share and they agreed, their incredible healing experience last week. They're going to come on at the end and it goes perfect in line with what we're going to talk about. So, hey Karen, come on in. Before we get started, because a lot of the content from today will be based off of your questions and just like the feedback we've had on my stories and everything. Do you have any questions? Like if you have one burning question and it can remain anonymous, put it in the comments of like energy healing, anything energy related. If it's in line with what we're going to talk about tonight and can add to what we'll be doing and discussing, we'll answer the question, we'll put it in here. And if it's not, we will definitely do a topic over it. But you guys really have the best questions. Hey Rachel, hey Jocelyn. All right. So our physical disease and our physical symptoms are in a direct representation, they're a direct expression of the energy we carry. All of our physical symptoms, all of our physical disease starts in the energy field. Our physical body is manifestation energy. And we're energy beings first and foremost. Put in another way of saying this, we're a spirit, right? We're a soul. We live forever, but our body doesn't. So when we're looking at disease, when we're looking at symptoms, when we're looking at wanting to feel better, if we're just treating the physical body, we will never fully get to our health expression. And there's a couple examples that we'll go over and talk about. And some of the questions came in were so simple yet so profound of like, how do I know that I need energy healing? How would someone know that they need a session or they need an audio or they need to experience themselves energy healing? How do I know I need energy healing? First and foremost, you're an energy being. To say you don't need energy healing, to say that to attune your attention to this part of your health is not important, is to deny the essence of what you truly are and where you truly come from. And then also, another quick tool to work in the reverse order. So I think that energy healing should always start first in any treatment plan, medically, but they don't teach us that in medical and in nursing school, but maybe one day they will. Another way to look at it is if you've gone through all of your treatment options, you've done diet, you've done nutrition, you've done it all, and you're like, I'm still not getting the results I want. Now it's time to turn to energy healing because there's likely still something energetic in your field that the physical mechanisms of healing haven't shifted, that it would be a good fit for you. So let's talk about two examples, infertility and depression. By a show of hands or a tap of hearts, how many of us have experienced or know someone close to us that have either struggled with infertility or depression? I'm going to think it's probably 70-80%. Let me know. Yeah, there's a lot of us that we've really struggled with this. Either one. And we can talk about thyroid disease and we can talk about GI dysfunction and we can get into all that if you guys want to hear concrete examples, but I want to talk about infertility and depression. So there's an energetic root cause and there's a physical root cause. There's an energetic way of treating both infertility and depression, and then there's a physical. So starting with infertility, when we're looking at the physical body, so in my practice, I would run something like a Dutch test, I would run a hormone panel, I would do multiple things to check on the woman's physical body and the male, but we'll stick with women for today. On what are their hormones doing? Are they ovulating? Is it actually the mechanism of releasing an egg that's not happening? Is it pelvic inflammatory disease, or is there just so much inflammation that things aren't working or it's not even comfortable for them to conceive? And so we can look at all the physical measures. And in Western medicine, outside of a functional medicine nurse practitioner's office, they might do things kind of similar, kind of different. But overall, we're going to be looking at hormones and the mechanism and the anatomy of fertility. I have seen so many women in my practice who we've got their hormones stabilized, we've got their autoimmune disease gone, their thyroids are looking good, their diet is perfect, their supplements, their sleep, all of the physical things are adding up And everything in the physical world they should be having a baby. Even the timing of conception and intercourse is perfect. Yet they're not conceiving. Why? Because, and until we look at the energy field, and it happens so often that we address the energy field and it's like, boom, the next cycle. So the biggest thing to look at for fertility is our sacral energy center. It sits below the belly button. You can think of the color orange. You can think of meridians that run through here, sexual reproductive organs. This energy center, why is it blocked? Why is it shut down? This energy center shuts down when it feels like it's living in captivity, when there's no creativity, there's no expression, there's no joy in the life of the person. And this energy center is fertility, reproduction. We are designed to create, to allow energy to move through us and move out. Like everything we do, our work, whether you work in a traditional work setting or you're an entrepreneur or you're somewhere in the middle, you're here to create, to be a co-creator, to create life, to create expression, to create art. And when there's blockages in fertility and we've gotten all the hormones and the supplements and the nutrients and everything's looking good, the timing of intercourse, the cycles, everything, it's blocked right here. And so we can work with that energy, release that feeling of captivity. It can be different for every single person. And remember this when you're thinking of fertility. Animals don't breed in captivity. When you put animals in a zoo or in a cage or even like a free range environment, they don't breed because their energy centers are shut down too. They're not in their wild, primal and what they're meant to be doing. Make sense? Let me know. Tap me some hearts or send in the comments if this is making sense or if you want me to clarify on infertility. Depression. This has a special place in my heart because someone really close to me can struggle with it pretty intensely. So on the physical side, and again, just as like the autoimmune theory in medicine has never been proven, so there's no body of research that completely supports autoimmune disease being the body attacking itself. That's actually never been proven. The same with depression. It has never been proven that depression is purely a chemical imbalance. That's a theory that Big Pharma has propagated to sell pharmaceuticals. And gosh dang it, I will write you a script. All my clients and patients know this. I will write you a script if you need one and you're like, it's going to save my life. I need to get out of this hole. They're tools and we have them. The literature shows the longer we use antidepressants, the more at risk we are for being dependent on them. And then the side effects and everything gets more and more intense. The longer the use of the drug, the worse it gets. What is the drug treating? A chemical imbalance. That doesn't add up, right? So for depression, that's Western medicine's way of looking at it. They say there's a chemical imbalance, which is never proven and not true. And they're treating something based on a theory, which we have seen the side effects and it's not effective. Okay, so functional medicine, still in the physical body, but they're creating some new ways of looking at things. Functional medicine says there's heavy metals. Once the blood-brain barrier is weakened, heavy metals, which is also in your antidepressant medication, get past the blood-brain barrier and they can be in the corpus callosum. They can be in parts of the brain, inflaming the brain, creating neuroinflammation, depression. Okay, I see that to be true in my practice, but what happens? One, how does it all of a sudden happen that your blood-brain barrier, the neuroinflammation, the lining around your brain and your nervous system, how does it happen that all of a sudden that is weakened, right? Closed crown chakra. So our crown chakra up here, it's our relationship to something higher than ourselves. And you can think about, I can give some examples here from personal client experiences. It can be anyone, when a closed crown chakra is happening, it can be anyone from no connection to anything higher than themselves to people who are like in their faith and it's not like rooted in true connection for that person. And true connection looks different for every single person and what that can look like. So the physical side of treating depression looks like give a pill for an ill. The functional medicine side says, well, let's chelate and detox metals, which is great. And then the energy medicine side says, well, how did this blood-brain barrier get weakened in the first place? And how can we shift it? Well, we can open up the crown. We can get in there with that person and help them create something, a connection to something higher than themselves. So our physical disease, our physical symptoms are always an expression of the energy we carry every single time. So if you're dealing with a symptom in a physical ailment that you're not seeing reprieve to, how do you know you need energy healing? Well, first and foremost, you are an energy being. First and foremost, your physical body comes after the fact that you are energy. So starting in the energy field is actually the most effective treatment approach. Or when you've tried everything else, all the physical things, and you're still not seeing or feeling the way you want to feel, look, or be, it's time to try energy healing. Second question, what does a session look like? So it depends on if we're on Zoom or in person. And then Stephanie will take us through her experience today. Typically, I'm going to address this session from Zoom or in person. First thing that will happen, you only have 2 jobs. One is to close your eyes and relax. And the second is to breathe. Pretty simple, right? Relaxing can be the hardest part. We talked about this last week, but it's impossible to not feel energy. So sometimes as energy healers or as energy receivers or clients, we think, okay, I have to have like this perfect environment. No distractions is ideal, and all of the things. I have to have like meditated for 30 minutes and written in my journal and taken an Epsom salt bath and have my essential oils and my crystals and my cards and like all the things. You can do that and it will support you because it will shift your mind to know, your nervous is to know, okay, what's coming next. But to feel energy is the core of your being. You are energy. It takes nothing in you to feel energy besides letting go of the interferences and the barriers, and you will feel energy. So in an energy healing session, we'll get you relaxed, we'll get your eyes closed, we'll get you connected to your breath. Breath is the physical manifestation of energy moving through your body. So when you start to breathe, let's just start to breathe together. Notice when you take the breath in, you're pulling energy from your first energy center, starting at your root all the way up to the top of your head. And when you're breathing out, you're taking the energy from the crown and you're sending it back into your body. So inhale, pull that energy up from your root, your connection to the earth, take it all the way to the connection to heaven. And as you exhale, send it back, what you gathered from your connection here at the crown, send it back down through your body and out your root. That's breath. Breath is energy healing. So in a session, we'll get you relaxed, we'll get your eyes closed, we'll get you breathing. The second thing that happens, and this is just how I do energy healing, and you can read my post called Is It Like Reiki? That was, I think, posted last week. And basically what I say in that post is the energy healing that I do and teach and have it and will be certifying people in October. I've never taken a training. This is all that's come to me in meditation and throughout my work over the years. And I used to talk about how I'd sit on my hands and they would get hot and different experiences. So this is a new thing that I just felt like God wanted to bring to the earth, and I was a willing vessel. So I got chosen, and it's been a lot of fun. And I learned so much. And when I'm teaching, I think everyone who's in this kind of work, when you're teaching or when you're serving, you're like bringing stuff in that you're like, how did I know that? I hear that all the time from functional medicine practitioners. You're like, something came out of my mouth and I had to fact check it. When you're channeling or when you're receiving higher levels of information through you, you're like, well, how did I know that? That's the energy healing. And then it's proven effective clinically or in matter over time. So we get you relaxed, we get you breathing. The next thing that happens is the practitioner, so me or someone that I'm certifying, does an energy reading on your body. And what's really different about the kind of energy healing that I believe in and I practice and I teach is that I see it as an active process. I think Reiki is a beautiful thing. I've received it, and I know others whose lives have been transformed by it. The most effective energy healing that I see is when it's active versus passive for the client or for the person receiving the healing. So the practitioner uses their intuition to just do a gentle scan over the body. So you can use a pendulum, you can use your hands, you can just feel into the person's body. I have this really strange, and I lovingly call it a gift now, that as soon as I set the intention to be with the person in the spirit, my body will start showing me what they're feeling and receiving. And I'm like, okay, so their throat feels tight, or their right hip hurts, or their low back, or they have a headache, but you can, and I'll teach how to do this in the certification and in the course of like how you read and feel into each energy center. And they tell a story. Every energy center is like this little microcosm of what you're feeling and experiencing in your world. So like Your first energy center, your root, that's your stability, your safety, your connection to the earth, money, resources. Everyone with autoimmune disease has had a root that's been destabilized at some point. And that might be like separation from home, lack of finances, not feeling safe, something. And so you'll get this reading of where the person is at in that point of time. Or as you're lying there, your practitioner is going to kind of know how to direct the session. Like if roots ringing off is blocked and not centered, they're going to be like, okay, this person is really not feeling safe. It might prompt them to help do more breathing, to do some affirmations. I am safe in this place. It might prompt the practitioner to do a little bit more like comfort measures for the person, some needleless acupuncture, some oils, some touch. Or say you're working out, you do a scan and you see that person's heart is blocked. You're going to know they're probably going to have a really big expression, a really big release if it's time for the heart to open in that time. And they're probably going to notice when you ask them to do the body scan, like tension, tightness here all the way down. These are your meridians of your heart. So you're lying there, your practitioner scans you, you're breathing, you're getting deep. Your brain waves are also changing. So we live in like a beta alpha state, really high cognitive state. Energy healers that are really, everyone's an energy healer in my opinion, but those who are really effective, like people walk in their presence and like Jesus, and they're like, whoa, or like someone you know, a friend, a healer that you've seen, you're like, I just feel different when I'm around them. They're really great at producing theta brainwaves. And this is something that's measurable when you put electrodes on your head. When you're meditating, the practitioner can help that person get into theta by guidance. When you're in theta, you are so connected. Your subconscious is connected to your body. Your body is connected to higher realms, heaven, God, spirit, source, fill in the blank of what makes sense to you. You are unbridled, no barrier connection, and you can receive. So in the session, depending on your practitioner, what I do is I get the scan, I'm leading them into relaxation. I kind of hang back and let that person, I'm asking questions, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? Typically we start with a body scan and I'm asking them, where do you feel tension? Where do you feel constriction? Where in your body feels expansive? Where in your body feels shut down? 9 times out of 10, they're picking up on exactly what I saw, felt, and read. We get into that energy center. When you're in theta, you can see into your body. You might get little colors, textures, shapes, memories. That's really the intuition of the practitioner to know how to lead you at that point. So if I'm working with like the root and there was a childhood, like an ACE, an adverse childhood event or a trauma or something that really shifted that person's energy field, usually I'll start to see the event and I'll say, we're going to travel back to a memory. When you're in theta, you are receiving the same brainwave as someone next to you. Most of us in a relationship or a close friendship, or we're a child of someone and like our mom will call us and we'll know she's about to call, or we'll be with our partner and we're finishing each other's sentences. That's kind of an example of being in theta. But when you're in an energy session, a lot of times you're seeing and feeling as the practitioner what that person is, and then that client is so focused inward that they're not even realizing it. So in the session, think about it feels like a guided meditation and you're being led to the places in your body that feel stuck. And Stephanie will kind of illustrate her example. And in the places that feel stuck, there's information, there's energy to be released. We are like the pipe, our body is, and energy is like water. And usually in the energy session, there's some sort of tears, heavy breath, sighing, something that comes out in the form of when we're removing this energy. And that's really the session. Sometimes loved ones will come in. Thinking of you, Stephanie, in your experience. And that can be the practitioner, the client, or both of them that feel and recognize who it is. I will have like loved ones or angels or those who are crossed over, like give me physical cues. It literally feels like someone's tapping me when they want me to say, oh, someone's here. Or sometimes I'm not receiving that they're there and the client's like, I see them, I feel them, they're in my field. And that's completely valid. And we talked a little bit about it last week on the angel stories of like, we live in a society that's like thinks that's so weird, and that once someone's dead, there's no connection, but their energy can never be created nor destroyed. So like their energy never leaves. So why wouldn't that why wouldn't you be able to connect with energy if it can never be created nor destroyed? Food for thought. Okay, what questions do you have so far on the energy healing session? I'm going to lead us through just like 5 minutes of how to feel energy in your body and maybe like what a little bit of this feels, and then Stephanie's going to come on and tell us about Gus and her experience and all the amazing things. So if you're like, energy healing seems interesting to me, or I want to experience it, or I want to teach it, I want to perform it, I want to bring it into my business, I want to start a business on energy healing. Here's the easiest thing that you can do to bring energy to someone. And the first way to help others is to help heal yourself. So feel safe in your body, whether if you're like walking or driving, just notice if you're sitting in a seat, your pelvis grounded down. If you're walking, feel your feet. Make some connection to the earth. And then call upon your breath. Just remember what we said. The breath is just calling up energy from your first energy center, your connection to the earth, moving through all of your energy centers, bringing it up your connection to heaven, to something greater than yourself. That's the inhale, and the exhale is sending all that energy down and back through your body. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, breathe it all the way in and up. Exhale, send it through the body. Inhale, bring it all the way in and up. Exhale through the body. And when you're measuring someone with a pendulum, when you're working on them in energy healing, you'll see just when they start to breathe, their blocked centers start to open because you're bringing breath through all of it. Okay, so now that you're open, I want you to just observe your body. And then you're going to notice 1 or 2 areas that feel constricted or tight, heavy, or not as relaxed, or just bleh. Okay, and out of those 1 or 2 areas, pick 1 to focus on. Now as you're picking 1 to focus on, take a hand there. Just connect, maybe feel what it feels like. You can start to, in your mind, if you're not a very visual person, you will be. Just start to tap over your third eye. And then take your hand back to where you're feeling the constriction. Give it a moment with your breath for any images, colors, memories. Just see what comes up. The body's always talking to us, but it just takes a moment to listen. Observe what's there. Now, without judgment, have gratitude for whatever your body is showing you. You won't probably get the full message, and a clearing can happen in 30 seconds, but just giving you just a little bite to feel into this. If you're watching the replay, you can pause this and stay here. Really taking a moment to see how this area is blocked off and what your body's showing you. And for this area to open, allow your body or a mental image to show you what you would be doing to allow this center to open. Good. Take a deep breath. Imagine bringing the breath up through this area. And inhale all the way up. Exhale all the way down. One last time. Inhale all the way up. You can even bring your arms up. Exhale, send it all down. So in an energy healing session, you have your intuition coupled with the practitioner's intuition and guidance and their knowing of the body and the energy field to lead you through the blocks. And there's so many different ways of energy healing. There's traditional energy healing sessions, there's yoga, there's breath work, there's medicine ceremonies, there's food as medicine, there's taking a walk. You can do so many different things for energy healing. But what it's doing is moving energy through your body, and there's always something in your energy field that is going to create your physical symptoms. So like if your throat's blocked, there's something you're not saying. There's something you're like, well, how am I? So just going through that with you all, my throat is feeling really tight, and that's something that's usually not tight for me. I'm like, what is it? What is it? I have a good idea, and it's coming. It's something that's wanting to be birthed through me that I'm getting there, but it's just not quite ready. And oddly enough, I have noticed my thyroid feeling different in my neck since I've been kind of pumping the brakes on something that wants to come through me. So, all right, those are how do you know if you need energy healing? What does a session look like? And now I'm going to invite our friend on to tell us about was when we had our session last week. And the funny thing, I'm just going to tell Stephanie I sent you a request. So as you come on, I'm just going to tell the story. She came into the office just for us to catch up. We've known each other for a while, and this is energy. My client that was supposed to, it was an impromptu session. We were just talking. I was like, oh, maybe we should do some energy healing. And so we ended up doing some healing. And as we got in the session, I was just like, this is not going to be quick. And this was and I could feel it building. There was energies and loved ones connecting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a client that, and I had a stacked day. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is energy. I got a message from the front desk. It's like, your client called and said they're running about 20 minutes late. I'm like, perfect. And it happens like that. So this is Stephanie. First, because I want to do a shameless plug for you, will you tell us just your name, like where you're at, and then your business?
Oh, yeah. I was wondering which account I'm even on, to be honest. I don't know. Am I on the Sweetest Clay?
I sent a request to Sweetest Clay.
Okay, so cool.
That's, what I want you to be on.
So my name is Stephanie. I'm from Kansas City, but I live out in Colorado for the last 3 years, and I make handmade earrings. That's this account that's on here. So if you want to follow me for that, but it is a place too that I also speak about kind of my healing journey, over the last year and a half as I've been diving into it. So, that's a little bit about me. Yeah. And I grew up with Jenny in the same town, small town, Baser.
Awesome. Your earrings are the best. I got my first two pairs a couple weeks ago, and I've been loving them. So
yeah, I bet you're ready for Chiefs season. I saw you guys already went to a camp or something. So
yeah,
I'm excited to see you in them. I'll need those photos.
Thank you. Well, do you want to tell us about Gus before we get started, and then I'll just kind of let you take it away and whatever feels right for you?
Gus just joined me right before this started.
Really?
Yeah. So I've had some issues with, I would say my esophagus, but it might be my throat really for years. I've had issues with acid reflux. But anyway, because of that, my esophagus or throat always makes this very loud, strange noise. And if it's in a quiet room, which it has been so many times in my life, it makes an impact. People notice it. So I made a name for it called Gus because it's my esophagus noise. Mm-hmm. So if I refer to Gus, and he's always come around in times I'm nervous, why I'm hearing Gus and just feeling all that energy right now is because I know I was going to be speaking. So I was a bit nervous. But it would always flare up around times of, because I did a lot of public speaking in college, and it would always be really bad right before public speaking. And then right before I was about to hook up with someone, for the first time. intimacy, because you, and then your faces are right by each other, and guys would always be like, what's that noise? And I'm like, how do I explain? Like, and luckily once I have been comfortable with someone, Gus goes away, but a lot of people in my life know him. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why I was always intrigued by a lot of the things you said, because
I felt like you set yourself up so well for healing too. The fact that you created like endearment around the symptom. You're like, you know what? I'm just gonna, and that's your personality. I mean,
yeah.
those who know Stephanie, she's a future and stand-up comedy. You've always been so funny. But so then it makes sense with your personality, but it also did just kind of like diffuse it a little bit to be like, oh, that's just Gus.
Yeah, because it was a weird, bizarre thing that I remember trying to explain to people. And then I would be, as soon as like, I don't even know where Gus came about or how it happened, but I remember it like diffused the awkwardness and even like my anxiety, which makes Gus better. Like, oh, people laughed. So I would just, and also he was like another person that like came around, and not a person, but like a distraction to me. And um, I even had like an ex-boyfriend. I remember when he would hear him, he would be like, hey, Gus, I'm like, this is, but yeah, that is a good way to explain it, is almost like diffusing it. Or I thought I would just live with it forever. But now it's like I'm so uncomfortable right now having this feeling because I don't have it often anymore. It's
Mm-hmm.
maybe like I, because I'm so aware of it a few times a year. When
Yeah.
it used to be like I was getting like all of those what is it called, an endoscope, like, or
Mm-hmm.
EKG, getting all of that, and they were like, everything's fine down there, and I was like, no, it ain't. Why is it making, this was before I knew anything about it being energy. I was paying really close attention to my diet and trying to, and nothing, I could pinpoint nothing to trigger it, but it
Yeah.
would just be occasions. Like I was like, it was just happening in these moments of nervousness, which I'm not really a nervous person, but those times of like hooking up and public speaking, where I would be like, screw you, Gus, like you're not welcome here.
And energy. I always say it comes up to be healed. So
Yeah.
we hate our symptoms, but it's just like, hey, I'm here and I want to be healed and I want to be released.
Yes.
So tell us about your session, like where Gus was and where he's at now, and then just all the. I mean, there's so much in your session, so I'm gonna let you share what you want. So.
I was really more so just excited to see you because, like I said, Jenny and I have been friends since like seventh grade, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been intrigued with what she's been doing lately, but it's hard to go to your things because I'm out here in Colorado. So I was just super excited to see you, and I didn't know if it was going to lead to any type of session. I just thought it was me visiting you. But once I got in there, and because you knew me in such a significant part of my life, I just like started, well, and because of who you are, I felt comfortable. I just started spilling to you. And then we felt called to have a session. But right before we did it, just like Jenny said before this, the question that I asked, I was like, okay, Jenny, if you were like to explain this to a grade schooler,
Yeah.
like, what would you say? Um, and she had said, you just have to breathe. And she was like, some people have compared it to being on mushrooms. Have you ever done mushrooms? And well, I have. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm comfortable doing this, definitely. And I was feeling drawn to doing that because I'm like really in the middle of my healing journey right now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually doing EMDR. And so to have Jenny, and that's all virtually. So to have Jenny's energy in person, I was like, I'm ready to go down this route. So anyway, once she said it was like mushrooms, I hopped on that table and just kidding. And I lost track of time. Like whenever we finished the session too, like you saying you were running late, like I didn't have any idea all of this was going on because I was really comfortable. My eyes were closed and I had a really powerful experience where this woman named Lindy that I became really close with. She was a 96-year-old woman at a community that I worked in, and we have a similar sense of humor. And She actually, I had her once in a reading before. It was a reading that I didn't know I was getting. I thought I was just going to like a breath work meeting, and then all of a sudden we went into this reading, and like I didn't know anything about that, but the way she described it, it was Lindy. And then Lindy showed up again with Jenny, and I was like, and physically what was happening, yeah, a lot of tears like leaving my body, and even though I was very warm, I had a lot of shaking going on. Um, and then,
That's high frequency. I'm going to add just a little nugget. It's really common in first like sessions. It's just such high frequency. You're connecting with our bodies. Are like, oh.
yeah, it's super wild, and I don't know how long I really have to share on here.
As long as you need.
Well, the most powerful thing, because I'm very open about sharing this now, is I was sexually abused by my dad when I was in 5th grade. And I was not even able to get through a pap smear. And then finally, about a year and a half ago, because I was having like endometriosis symptoms and I could not handle them, I would go to have a pap smear, and when they go to scrape your cervix, every single time I would get physically sick in the doctor's office, throwing up, and my whole body would like start sweating and shaking. And they would just kind of respond like, this is very weird. And I would just like find my way out of it. Until one doctor like looked me in the eyes and she was like, were you sexually abused? And I was like, no. And that was a couple years ago, and I had never told anyone besides my partner that I'm with now. And I got home and I was like, my doctor knew, and she is the one that talked me into going to therapy and doing EMDR, because like I had to get through a pap smear. And I've come a long way, and I'm still like right in the thick of it. So, but right now I'm just like open to anything that has been showing me relief, and the energy healing and EMDR really has. So back to that session, Lindy was there kind of as like a narrator at this table. And then my dad entered the room, and just a little information about my dad too. He died on my birthday, my 31st birthday this year in January. So it's been a really, really powerful time, or like intense time since he's died. It's opened a lot of memories, and he entered the room, and it was like the first time I didn't see him in a negative way, and that was so weird, but cool, I guess. And then, so anyway, Lindy, him and I were sitting at the table together, and I don't really remember the details, but I had had a conversation with my dad that he too was sexually abused as a child.
And this was all in this session. You're connecting with.
Yeah, like, right? Yes, this is during the energy healing session with Jen, as I'm laying there, and like, need you guys, I'm not kidding. I thought I was stopping by just to say hey to Jen. Like,
I thought so too.
I knew like I would have questions for her, and I was intrigued, but I was very eager to like be in this moment. And when she offered to me like, I'm feeling called to do this, I was right on board, and now it all makes sense. So anyway, I just had like that really powerful moment together, and I've thought about it a lot since. That was what, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, it's been like 2 or 3 weeks. And then and like I said, time was flying. Like I had no idea we were 30 minutes past her session, but I walked out of there and I like called my boyfriend Jordan, and I was like, dude, I feel like I am tripping right now in the best way. And I was like, and he was like, he had just gotten back from a backpacking trip and didn't have service for 5 days. And then I was like calling him I was like, you have service? I got to tell you this. He was like, where were you and what happened? I was like, oh, I was visiting my friend Jen, and he knows about you and knows that I was going to visit. So he was excited for me and just very intrigued. And then I went and wrote about it, and have even talked about it in therapy, and just how like powerful. I was trying to be very observant the next day of how like I felt physically. And there's usually just like something I can feel, you know, and I was just beat bopping around and I felt so great and really felt like I always, even if Gus isn't here, I still will feel a type of pressure in my throat. And that day I was just like, it just feels so clear for me.
Mhm.
Um, and then I was, I don't know if it was from that, but like I almost felt sore the couple following days, or like, you know, just like some things, something had left my body, or I just felt much more relief. So
Mhm.
it's a pretty, it was pretty powerful.
When you were connecting with Lindy and your dad, what were they like?
Oh yeah. Lindy was very much like a light-hearted but assertive, like asking the questions that I just have never been able to, and just getting straight to the point, which is like how she was when she was alive and here. And my dad, like, I guess you know, it's hard for me to say he felt like a dad because I really can't. But one thing that you said to me that I have never envisioned or fathomed was, picture your dad holding you or hugging you in a fatherly way. And like, oh my God, that was really quite the wave over me. And for some reason, even though I was at peace with him in that moment, I pictured this 85-year-old man that I am really close with now, named Larry, who I have met through I'm in the senior community um, industry, or have been for a long time. So I have a lot of friends that are 80 and above. But Larry is somebody that I felt comfortable sharing my story with, and he is like a grandpa or father figure to me. And in that moment, I kind of pictured, and still alive, he watches my dog for me when I'm out of town. But I pictured Larry holding me in that moment, and just was pretty beautiful. If I told Larry that, he'd bawl with joy, because he has been a big part of my healing journey. And curious, and like he, you know, we developed that relationship when my dad was dying earlier this year, because it was like the day I found out my dad was dying, I was helping him move into the community I worked, and he was like, why are you such a fantastic person, is it your parents? And I was like, that's really fragile, you know. And it's not because my dad was dying, it's honestly because I can give no credit to my parents. I was like, that's a touchy subject. But anyway, I told him about my journey, and but seeing him in that moment, like, was pretty cool.
Yeah. What I, and tell me if your experience was different than this. When I was there with you all, so when I'm working on people, it's kind of like I'm seeing everything they're seeing, but I'm just watching. And you said that when I see my dad, it's like all of his baggage is no longer, like him and his spirit is pure, and there's no baggage on him. And when you guys hugged, it was like, it felt like ecstasy from the outside looking in.
Yeah, it really, that was definitely the first time I walked in and was like, I'm looking at him in a positive light. Like, yeah, everything about him was light, you know, um, and that was cool.
Before the question was raised of was he sexually abused, would you ever have considered that, like outside of the session or outside of that brainwave or that experience,
What do you mean? I'm sorry.
that that your dad had the same abuse that you had went through from him?
Actually, yeah, I had well, yeah, I thought that maybe there was a chance, and I wrote my grandparents later in life. I didn't tell them the details, but I, not that they would know if it happened, but I remember saying, if, do you know if anything happened to him as a child? And I never really got a response back. But um, yeah, that has been a question I've had.
Yeah.
Because yeah,
So now that it's been a couple weeks, what has integration been like for you? Like after having the experience, the trip, like that you can have it an energy healing session, a ceremony, like any. I mean, this is similar to. It's not the same frequency, but it's similar to like when people have kind of that near death experience when they're connecting with.
Oh.
their loved ones. But what has the last couple of weeks been like for you, like the integration, and how are you able to show up since having released a lot of this on the table?
Um, to be honest, like a thing that I've always struggled with is having the image of him in my head, like during sexual interactions,
Mm-hmm.
when it's the act of what I was like having done. And and like, even though, you know, it's really soon to tell, but I had a really good experience with my partner when I got back, where I felt, and like he even noticed, like I felt more open in our experience together, because it's affected me in so many ways, but that's the most physical one.
Mm-hmm.
um, because like I said, it happened when I was in fifth grade, and I was unable to have like even use tampons or have anything inside of me until I was 20 or 21. And I always said it felt like my body was just like rejecting it. And that's kind of how all of my sexual interactions were when it would get that far, is like, oh, it's not going to happen there, you know? And I've really had to figure out a route, and my partners, you know, this is the first one I've had that's willing to get to know or take the long route there. But anyway, I didn't have those images, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
they were just always with me. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully that continues. And
Beautiful.
just a lot of physical relief. Like I've been trying to notice, like, is there any part of my body that I'm carrying like extra tension? And I'm like, I feel more relief.
Yeah.
And so it's
Perfect.
it's a
I want
cool experience.
I want to read some of the comments that as you've been
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah, sorry.
No, let's see. I
Yeah,
have
I'll definitely tell Larry, is if that's what they're telling me.
yeah.
I'm having lunch with Larry tomorrow, and he's going. This is going to be the best day of his life, because he just wants to be like a grandpa, showering me with, loving me like the dad I never had, I guess. But yeah, I'll be telling him tomorrow.
Yeah. And so my husband makes this kind of noise. My throat is nervous. Stephanie, I love your energy.
Oh,
See. I had this in an interview recently. Love everything about this. So proud of you, Stephanie, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. You are my hero. Thank you for sharing your story. You are so brave. Yes, I've experienced this as well. Legitimately can feel like a trip, the energy healing. And
yeah,
then you should tell Larry.
yeah.
Yeah. Well,
It
I'm
was
so excited.
it was cool.
Thank you for sharing with us, Stephanie. I'm like hearing you speak. I'm like, this is amazing. Even in my own experiences, I'm like, what would it look like to have Stephanie's like energy and courage and bravery and humility to share and help others. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for um, providing that experience for me, because um, it was really profound in my. I think it's a big part of like my healing journey.
Yeah. Well, always here, and you know where to find the community. If with
Yeah,
your permission, I'll put this on YouTube, the replay, and yeah,
really, that'll be awesome.
yeah. So you can access if you might come around when someone wants to hear your story, like you can hear it here. So
Sweet.
Karen said that was beautiful. So thank you. You're free to
Here.
go, Steph. I'll do some announcements here at the end, and then
Yeah, if anybody has like specific, because I got, very vivid and specific there, but if you have any questions too, I'm really open about my experiences. So I'd love to
she
chat.
is the sweetest clay on Instagram for those who are catching the replay. So give her earring shop and Stephanie a follow. She's a lot of good content. So, and those of you who want to experience energy healing, you can reach out. We have the energy healing certification coming in October 6th through the 8th, and that is virtual or in person here in Kansas City to be certified and really go in deep. And then we have the Yalapa Spiritual Medicine Healing Retreat coming up in January, where you'll get to receive a lot of this. And the training you'll be receiving, but you'll be learning to do this. So would love to have you all there. If you have any questions, you can reach out to either one of us, and then you can catch the replay if you missed some of the beginning. See you next week, guys. Bye, Steph.
Bye.